What is up, everybody? SchwayZ here, and in today's video, I'm reviewing one of the most affordable new crossovers you can buy. Now, before we dive into today's video, I do want to extend a huge thank you to Jerry Seiner Chevrolet of downtown Salt Lake City for giving me the opportunity to review this vehicle for y'all today. If you guys are in the market for a new or used vehicle, they have a large assortment of different inventory. Make sure you reach out to them and let them know that SchwayZ sent you. Okay, so here we have the all-new 2024 Chevy Trax, and like I said, this is one of the cheapest new crossovers on the market. Really, the only thing more affordable than this is the Kia Soul and the Hyundai Venue, but the starting price of the new 2024 Chevy Trax is just at $20,400. So that makes this a really good bargain. And in today's video, we'll do an exterior-interior walk around, and then we'll show you some of the highlights and some of the cool features of this affordable crossover. Now, starting off with the front end of the Chevy Trax, you'll see it's updated for the 2024 model year. This is a brand new generation, and you have LED daytime running lights, and you've got LED headlights. These are automatic, and they're also automatic high beams as well. Now, this one being the LT trim level, it comes with the signature daytime LED lights. And I'm going to throw up some footage right now on the screen to show you what that looks like when the vehicle is on, but it looks pretty good. And overall, I would say the front end is very good looking. It looks kind of similar to the Chevy Traverse, a little bit of the Chevy Trailblazer. You can definitely see that they've updated it from the prior generation, which was looking a little bit dated at this point. But to me, the design of this vehicle does not look like it's one of the cheapest new vehicles that you can buy. Now, coming across the side of the vehicle, I do want to point out the wheels here. So this one being the LT trim level, these are 17-inch aluminum wheels, but the base Trax comes with 17-inch steel wheels. Now these are 225 millimeter wide, and you notice you got a little bit of black plastic cladding across the side and on the side skirt. But this one being the LT trim level, you also have body painted mirror caps. Typically that's black plastic, but with this one being kind of the mid-tier trim, it's a little bit more premium. Now coming over to the side of the vehicle, even though this looks more like a traditional crossover, it's kind of low in height. In fact, my chin pretty much reaches this top pillar over here. So it's kind of a little bit more like a hatchback, but it is shaped more like a traditional crossover. And I think a lot of people will really enjoy that. Now coming over to the rear end of the vehicle, unfortunately you don't have LED tail lamps, but they look pretty good overall. I like how they kind of bend around this fender. And then you have a rear spoiler as well and a pretty sloped roof line. But overall, I would say it's a pretty good looking vehicle. It's very similar to the other Chevy products out there, and I think you'd be happy with it considering the price point. Personally, I like the styling of this a little bit more than the Hyundai Venue and the Kia Soul. Those look a little bit more odd to me. This to me looks more like a traditional crossover. Now this particular vehicle that I'm reviewing today is the LT trim level, which is kind of the mid-tier of the lineup. And as you can see, this MSRP is at around $24,280. And considering all the features I'm going to show off today, that really is a good price. Now in case you're wondering about the exterior color, this is called Harvest Bronze Metallic. Now the nice thing is every single Chevy Trax comes with Chevy Safety Assist, which is your suite of different safety features. It includes front pedestrian detection, emergency braking, front collision warning. You got lane keep assist and lane departure warning. You also get 6 airbags on the inside, and cruise control is standard. All right, now let's jump under the hood and talk about what's going on here. So this is actually the very same engine that's shared with the Chevy Trailblazer. It's a 1.2 liter turbocharged 3-cylinder engine that produces 137 horsepower and 162 pound-feet of torque. All of that power is sent through a traditional 6-speed automatic transmission. There's no CVT here, which is nice for those of you that do not like CVTs. Now, fuel economy is pretty good. You're talking 28 in the city, 32 on a highway for a combined 30. Now, really the only downside with this powertrain setup is if you live in a snowy climate like I do, the only powertrain available is front-wheel drive. You cannot get the Chevy Trax with all-wheel drive. I kind of wish they had that as an option, but in order to do that, you have to step up to the Chevy Trailblazer. All right, now let's jump inside and talk interior, but I do briefly want to show you the Chevy Key. This is your typical Chevy Key they've used for quite a few different years, but I do want to point out the fact that the LT trim level does come with remote start. That is not standard on every single Trax, but you can get that as an option. Now, jumping inside, I think the interior is really impressive considering the price of this vehicle. Starting off with the door panel, this is of course hard touch plastic material, but that's to be expected because the price point of this vehicle is very low for a new car. I do like the chrome door handle over here. It's not plastic. Down here, you do have your window switches, automatic up, down, and you've got automatic door locks as well. Moving further back, I do like on this LT trim level, you have this nice leather touch surface. This is fake leather, of course, but it does look really nice and feel really nice to touch. Unfortunately, where you're going to be resting your elbow is a little bit on the harder side. I kind of wish this material was just a little bit softer, more like this than what it is here. But anyways, you do have a little grab handle over here. And then moving forward, I do like this texturized material. Makes the interior look a little bit less boring, but this is just hard touch plastic. There's nothing too fancy there. And then down at the bottom, you do have a little cup holder spot and just a little storage compartment there. Now, the standard speaker setup for the Chevy Trax entry level is 4 speakers. This one being the LT trim level, it comes with 6 speakers on the inside. Now climbing inside, I do like the look of these seats on the LT trim level. They've got a little bit of this fake leather on the side. I like the stitching. And then this cloth material actually has a cool design to it. It just makes it look a little bit different than your standard gray cloth or black cloth interior. So I like that they've added that. This is also a leather touch surface for the headrest, so that's pretty nice. You know, I think the LT trim level is probably one of the best ones to get. Now you do get 6-way manual adjustable driver's seat and a 4-way manual adjustable passenger seat. Also, you do have a tilt and telescoping steering wheel as standard on every single Trax. All right, now jumping into the driver's seat, let's talk about the dash. Now, honestly, it's actually pretty impressive. I do like the fact that you have that blue accent on the air vent, even around the air vent. Then you've also got it right behind the instrument gauge cluster screen. A little bit more of that texturized material that you found on the door panel located back here. You do have automatic headlamps, like I said. And then this is your knob to adjust the brightness of the interior. And then this is all hard touch plastic, of course, that's to be expected. But then up above here, also more hard touch plastic, but you're really not gonna ever touch this surface. I do like how these dual screens kind of wrap around closer to the driver, makes it look a little bit more driver oriented. And then over on the passenger side, nice texturized material. Again, I like the use of different textures and colors on the inside. One complaint I had with the Chevy Colorado I reviewed was even though everything was hard touch plastic similar to the Trax, there was no differentiation in the colors. And that's my biggest complaint when you just have a sea of black or gray plastic. Whereas here, you've got different colors, different textures, and makes it look a little bit more premium than just an entry-level crossover. A little bit more of that blue trim piece onto the passenger side. And then again, more uniqueness with this panel. What starts off as just this gray trim piece that goes underneath the air vent turns into a texturized material over there on the passenger side. Really unique and a really nice way to make the interior of the Trax pop a little bit more than just a cheap crossover. Now the steering wheel on this LT trim level is plastic. I kind of wish it was leather wrapped. It just kind of feels a little bit cheap in the hands, but that's really not a huge complaint. You do have this kind of golf ball texture where you're going to have your 10 and 2 notches. On the left hand side is how you're going to control your cruise control functionality. You do have a distance indicator over here as well. On the right hand side is how you're going to control your gauge cluster display, and that's what I want to talk about next. So this particular Chevy Trax comes with the 8-inch instrument gauge cluster display. It's a really nice screen, but there's really not too much functionality here. The same as what you'd find in pretty much an analog gauge cluster display. The difference here is it's digital. Now, this is not standard on every single Trax. The base entry-level Trax comes with a 3.5-inch gauge cluster display, along with some analog gauges as well, but pretty much every trim above that comes with this 8-inch display over here. Moving towards the center, this is an 11-inch touchscreen display. What an age we live in where you have 11-inch touchscreens in affordable entry-level cars. Now, it's pretty easy to use. It's a little bit slower, I would say, than the typical software I find in other Chevy products that are a little bit more expensive, like the Silverado, but it's not bad at all. I mean, it's still a really nice touchscreen. It's very vibrant, very easy to access, very easy to use. You've got wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto. You can pull up your climate control settings here, regulate the fan speed. This is a single zone climate control, and you do have automatic climate control on the 1LT. The basic one does not come with automatic climate control. Now, I should mention this 11-inch touchscreen is not standard on all trim levels. Again, the base entry level comes with an 8-inch touchscreen, which is still plenty fine. I mean, my Bronco comes with an 8-inch touchscreen. However, this one being the LT trim level, it does come standard with the 11-inch touchscreen. Now, on the left-hand side of the screen, you do have a physical volume knob. So for those of you that hate touchscreen controls for your volume, you do have a physical volume knob. To the left of the vents, you have your keyless ignition. That's not a standard feature on the base trim level, but this one being the LT, it does come with that. Now, down below the vents, you've got your physical controls for your air vents. So you have your automatic climate control, and then you can cycle through various temperatures, and you can cycle through your fan speed over here on the right-hand side. You can also regulate where the air is flowing, and you can, of course, shut it off using this button on the top left. Now, down below these controls is a little storage compartment. You got 2 USB ports and a cigarette-style power outlet. The higher trim levels do come with a wireless charging pad as an option. Behind that, you've got your auto start-stop for your engine, and you've got your lane keep assist button. Over here, you've got a rubber gear selector with your manual controls for your gears on the left-hand side. 2 cup holders, a place where you can put your wallet or your phone. You've got your electronic parking brake, and then over here, you've got another storage compartment. Now, another complaint I have here is this is more of a hard touch material. It's very similar to what's on the door panel. Kind of wish this was just leather wrapped. It's those little things like this and that over there that make it feel a little bit more premium on the inside, and unfortunately, this is just a little bit too hard for my liking. In here, you do have a small compartment. There's nothing really to report in here. There's no USB ports or anything like that. And then over on the passenger side, you do have a pretty decent sized glove compartment. Up above you, there's no rear view camera mirror, of course. This is not a luxury vehicle. And then up above that, you have your light controls. Now, the particular vehicle I'm sitting in today does not have a sunroof, but that is an option on the LT trim level. All right, now jumping into the second row, there are some things that surprise me back here. First off, door panel, of course, hard touch plastic over here, similar to the front row. And then I will complain that this is completely hard touch plastic. It's not even that rubberized material that you find in the first row. Also, none of that pleather material you found in the first row either. So it's kind of a sea of black plastic back here. But again, you know, that's to be expected given the entry-level price. You got automatic window switches over here, a small storage compartment for a water bottle, and a little bit more of your 6-speaker audio system. Now, climbing inside, I do like the look of these seats. Very similar to the first row. You got a little bit of leather with some cloth, with some of that gray cloth that's actually textured. You also have that leather headrest. I really like that they didn't skimp out on the second row. One complaint back here, though, you don't have any type of center armrest. Second thing I want to mention back here that surprised me is the legroom. It's actually a really comfortable second row. For being a subcompact crossover, this is plenty of space. Chevy says there's 38.7 inches of legroom behind the first row, and there's no transmission tunnel here because this is front wheel drive. So you can actually probably fit a third person back here and be somewhat comfortable in the second row. Now you've got 2 USB ports back here, a large compartment. There's no rear air vents, but given the size of this vehicle, those front air vents should be able to circulate enough air into the second row. And then in terms of headroom, I've got pretty good amount of space, about 2 or 3 inches above my head. I'm about 5'9". So really no complaints sitting in the second row of the Trax. All right, now climbing into the trunk, this doesn't have an automatic lift gate, of course, given the price. It's a pretty good amount of space back here. So Chevy actually says you have about 25.6 cubic feet of space behind the second row. And this one being the LT trim, you do have this cover over here for your cargo. You got this net so you can put groceries and they don't roll around. And I like the fact that you've got this rubberized mat over here. Now that's not standard on every single trim level, but it is nice that this vehicle does come with that from the factory as an option. Now underneath this area, you do have a compact spare over there. Not really much else that you can use that space underneath, but then you do have a small compartment located over here on the left where you can put a little bit more items. So a pretty sizable trunk considering this being a subcompact crossover. Now you can increase your cargo volume even more by folding down these second row seats. And in this configuration, Chevy says you have 54.1 cubic feet of cargo space. Pretty large amount of space for you to put different things. Now, in terms of warranty, you've got your typical 3-year, 36,000 mile bumper to bumper limited warranty and a 5-year, 60,000 mile powertrain warranty. All right, next up, let's take the Chevy Trax out for a little drive. One of the first things I noticed in this vehicle is I really like the size of it. You almost sit a little bit more like you do in a sedan, but at the same time, this thing feels very spacious on the inside. It feels as spacious as your typical crossover. Plenty of space over to the passenger side. Your rear seats have plenty of legroom. Really is kind of the best of both worlds. Now, I'm not gonna hammer on this car because it's brand new and it's not mine, but you know, this thing gets up to speed just fine. It's what you would expect from a small 1.2 liter 3-cylinder engine. I mean, it's nothing crazy here, but it's gonna be very fuel efficient. And for those of you that don't want a CVT, there's really not very many options out there that are better than this in terms of power and in terms of fuel economy. You know, I think Chevy does a good job with providing lots of tech on the inside at a pretty affordable price. I mean, just a few years ago, to get an 11-inch touchscreen on the inside of a car, you'd probably be spending at least 50, 60 grand. And here we are at half that price, and you've got an 11-inch touchscreen. You can get wireless charging. You have standard wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. I mean, it really is kind of a great bargain considering everything you get packaged in an affordable price. Now, in terms of ride quality, we're about to drive over some train tracks, and let me show you what that feels like. Honestly, that wasn't bad at all. I expected it to be a little bit of a harsher ride. Now, it's not as soft as a lot of other Chevy GM products I've reviewed, but this is plenty comfortable for day-to-day driving. I really can't complain about it. It's way more comfortable than my Ford Bronco, that's for sure. And you know, even though you can hear quite a bit of road noise, it's not bad. It's on par with the competition and it's perfectly fine for a city car that you drive to and from work and get fantastic fuel economy. You know, the only thing I wish they offered on this vehicle as an option is all-wheel drive. Because, you know, I just think it would make it that much more of a popular vehicle if you could get this equipped with all-wheel drive from the factory. But the nice thing is given the size of this vehicle, it's very nimble, very easy to understand its dimensions and proportions, and very easy to navigate in tight spaces like a big city. And then I just did a little bit of an acceleration there, and honestly, it's plenty quick. Even though this vehicle has a small displacement engine, that turbocharger makes it feel a little bit spunkier than, you know, your typical 1.3 liter engine. Now, before we finish off today's video, I do want to talk about some of the optional features you can get on the Chevy Trax. Now, my particular vehicle does not come with this feature because, as you can see, it's not unlocking, but you can get the Chevy Trax equipped with the keyless entry system, so you can just keep the key in your pocket and then simply touch the door handle and push the button to unlock the door. Next up, if you live in a colder climate like I do, you can get the Trax equipped with heated seats and a heated steering wheel, and you can also get dual zone climate control. In terms of safety tech, you can also get this vehicle equipped with blind spot monitoring and adaptive cruise control. And you can also get these with 8-way power seats, and as I mentioned earlier, you can get this vehicle with a sunroof. Well, there you have it, folks. That was my full walk around of the 2024 Chevy Trax. Ultimately, I'm really impressed with it. The fact that you can get wireless Apple CarPlay, an 11-inch touchscreen, you can also get heated seats, heated steering wheel, all of that under $25,000, under $30,000. That's really impressive in today's market. But let me know what your thoughts are on the Chevy Trax. Would you take this over the competition? Let me know down in the comments below. Also, if you guys enjoyed today's video, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for all of the weekly car videos. Everything from Chevy Trax to Dodge Challenger Hellcats and everything in between. Also, check me out on all the social media at SchwayZ_. Until next time, everybody, I hope you stay SchwayZ, stay healthy, have a wonderful day.